So those of you lucky to be watching the video, I am red in the face and my eyes are swollen and I feel fine, honestly. I just am snotty and I was talking to my coach this morning and she's like, Sindra, you're moving through so much stuff. What is coming up for you? The cold, the purging is ascension symptoms. Just keep doing the things, look after yourself, obviously rest, but keep forging ahead because it's just your body letting go of some shit that's no longer serving you. So here we are. I am about this life, except for that I have two launches. Well, I have a launch this week, which always takes a lot of energy. So I am mindful of kind of, doing my needle moving tasks every day, but then also giving myself a bit of space to heal before the launch. Depending on when you are listening to this, if you want to scale to 5K months and beyond consistently via your content, then something juicy is about to drop or has dropped. And if you want the details, head to my Instagram at Sindra Banks and get in on the juice that is coming your way very, very soon. So today, part two of my entrepreneurial journey. You know what's so funny is that I was clearing off my YouTube channel to make way for the new podcast, and I found a couple of videos on the back half of the holistic health honey experience, I would say. So I've left one of those videos up on YouTube for you to have a look. It was really interesting to look at how I was speaking. I definitely wasn't speaking as confidently or as, I want to say, authentically. And I was really deeply enmeshed, whatever that word, in the yoga scene at that time. So I was really speaking really slowly, and mindfully. So it was super interesting to watch. Anyway, you can jump on YouTube and have a look. YouTube, Sindra Banks, link will be in the show notes as well. My dog has just pushed the ice cube I gave her. It's pretty hot here today underneath the lounge. So good job, babe. So let's get into the business journey beyond holistic health honey. Taking you back. So the videos that I found were like 2017. And this is actually kind of when I thought, okay, I had just gotten divorced for the first time. I was like, right, I'm gonna start my own thing. However, at this time, I was mostly teaching yoga. That was my sole income. So I had the studio, the 2 feet yoga studio, with my ex-business partner, Kat. We had a yoga studio. So before 2017, before the divorce, we started a full-time yoga career. I had a full-time yoga career, and my friend was also teaching at the time, and we were like, well, let's start our own thing. We already were doing some workshops together. We were already getting paid to go to retreats and teach yoga. We were doing a lot of acro yoga. If anyone has seen that before, it's like one person's generally laying on the ground, holding up the other person, and they're doing all kinds of like tricks in the air. So we were already doing that. We were already going to festivals. We were already getting paid to do retreats and all kinds of things. I've actually, like, when I reflect back on it, I've actually had some like pretty incredible opportunities as over time. So Kat and I started a yoga studio called 2 Feet Yoga. We started off teaching classes in a local community hall, actually in a suburb that I didn't live in, but Kat lived quite close. And so we started a timetable. We made up these classes, and we hustled. So this is kind of back, let's say 2015. So we went flyer dropping. We went, we were putting up posters everywhere in like local businesses. We were just Instagram was like kind of just getting started then. That was very much Kat's specialty at the time. So Kat was posting on Instagram. I was doing Facebook reach outs. We were asking friends to come along. Like it was a real hustle. However, very quickly we drew in and we created a very kind, loving, loyal community. It was actually really only like, one day I feel like there was just us there waiting for people to come. And then the next month we had this kind of core community of like maybe 8 to 12 people that would consistently come to our classes, which is pretty freaking cool. Um, Quite quickly we realized we needed our own space because every time you taught a class at this community hall, you had to roll up the carpet. Like they had this awful, I don't even know why. There was beautiful floorboards underneath, but you had to get there and roll up a whole massive hall's worth of carpet to expose the wood underneath. It was such a rigmarole actually to set up that space. So we were like, we really needed our own space or at least a shared space that's more aligned with us. So we started looking for opportunities and eventually we found somewhere kind of closer to the CBD of Newcastle. So we shifted our community to there. Most of them, if not all, came along, which was again super cool. Like we created this community so quickly and we really established ourselves in this studio. We started running workshops. We had a retreat, our first retreat. And we were kind of making money. Like when I look back, I mean, both of us had business experience, of course, but when I look back, I'm like, that was wild. Like not many people create a yoga studio, a yoga community. There's really like based off two people teaching classes only and running the whole show and actually making money. Like we weren't making like fuck off amazing money, but we were making enough money for us to both start cutting down on the other classes that we were teaching elsewhere. I had to let go of my retail job by that time. So whilst we were working our asses off for this studio, we were actually like making okay money. So yeah, we did retreats, we did workshops. We started looking for a permanent space because we were like, maybe we can just actually get our own studio. And we kind of were in talks with a few people around that space. And it was just when it got to the crunch time of us having to actually invest our own money into the business, we actually really thought about it and we're like, yoga isn't really where we want to be full time forever. It's bricks and mortar, actual physical building businesses are really fucking hard. And at the end of the day, we didn't love it enough to invest. We loved our community, but we didn't love it enough to invest. Looking back, like we definitely should have sold the business. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But like the business kind of person and head that I am now, like we definitely should have sold that business. Hey, stop. Anyway, so we did it. And then we moved on to 2 Feet Creative. So we were already kind of doing a bit of social media for people. I don't even know how we got into doing this or how I got into doing this, but I had been helping a friend out for quite a while in her business. I was kind of what you call like a VA, a virtual assistant. However, I was helping her with social media, and basically people were coming to us saying, hey, you and Kat have an amazing Instagram. Can you help us? You have an amazing website. Who did that? Can you help us? How do you set a podcast up? Like, again, this was like probably 16, kind of 2017. There wasn't as much information and help and support on the internet of how to do this stuff. People were kind of like overwhelmed. These days, like the podcasting app I use is so easy, anyone could do it really. So back then though, not so much. So we already kind of had a couple of clients separately and we were like, well, we're really good at this. let's freaking go balls to the wall and do 2 Feet Creative as a business. So I distinctly remember we got this massive sheet of cardboard and we got colored pens and texters, and we sat on my parents. I was living back at my parents' house after the divorce at the time. And we sat on my parents' deck and mapped out this kind of, 2 Feet Creative world domination plan. And Kat was very much the creative, um, brains genius, and I was very much the kind of the words genius, the words. She was the design, I was the words. So we had such a great team, and we were fortunate enough to help tons of people in the holistic health space, with websites, with copy, with starting podcasts, with social media. It was really, again, like, we kind of pulled it out of our ass. Like, I didn't really know how to run a business still by this time, and we were actually making decent money. However, again, at the end of the day, it probably wasn't our passion. I loved having my own business. However, I wanted to have my own business. I know that might sound kind of selfish, but I really wanted something for myself. And did I see myself doing social media for other businesses full time, like into the future? No. I loved the business element where we would talk to businesses about their goals and creating marketing opportunities, or, like, their programs and how to expand those. And I loved that part. However, actually just sitting there and writing their social media posts and scheduling them as a main kind of job, no, I didn't love it. So Kat and I had a thriving podcast. We had all of these things. We were getting asked to come and do talks. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't fully floating our boat. And to be honest, like, I was coming into my single era at this time. I hadn't been single for 7.5 years, 8 years. So I was really just wanting to also party and spread my wings and travel and, try new things. And it was kind of it was quite hard in that business to be able to do that. So at the end of the day, we kind of parted ways, and I went back to retail, of course, bounced back to retail. I was still teaching yoga. So I was like on the husk. Like, I was working quite a lot. I was teaching quite a lot. I was making pretty good money. I didn't really know what my next business was. I didn't really know what my next move was. I honestly just wanted to live. I just wanted to live and party and be single and travel. And I was just like, I will land wherever I land. And if that's in yoga, then it is. I was kind of getting a bit over yoga by that point because I'd been so into the scene for a really freaking long time. And I probably do a different or another episode about this another day. However, I will say, like, yoga teachers are so underpaid for what you do and how much time you put into it. And it's a real burnout career unless you create your own methodology, have your own training, or have your own studio or whatnot. Like, it's wild, actually. So the next business that I wanted to share with you, and this is the last business that I have had before I went completely into Syndra Banks doing my thing, was called Conscious Couples. Conscious Couples. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about the relationship that Conscious Couples was based on. I have talked about that on other podcasts in the past, and I don't really need to go there for this podcast. So let's just leave that there. However, I was in a new relationship. I was like, this is conscious as fuck. Like, we were doing things differently. We were open relating. We were kind of like having these really big, juicy conversations about needs and desires and talk about love languages. And, I had done so much healing on myself and really like work on who I wanted to be in a relationship. And I'd been reading books and going on this like whole like sexual liberation journey, which brought me to this new business, Conscious Couples. Basically, myself and the business partner that I had at this particular time, we attended a training. So neuro linguistic programming, NLP. You may have heard it before. Right. I didn't even really know why I wanted to do it, but I was like, fuck, I probably should do something to like make me a better coach. I was like, oh, maybe like holistic health planning, I'll restart it. Maybe I'll kind of like start getting back into coaching. So I was like, right, I need to do a training. We went to the NLP training for 5 days. And at the end of that training, on a piece of paper, we wrote down like this random business plan and we were like, right, let's do it. Conscious Couples, let's go. Looking back now, again, like it's just so funny to think and to like reflect on that decision and that, that time in my life. But looking back now, I don't think I would call a business Conscious Couples, especially not one that's like based on my relationship. I think that I have a lot of opinions about this. I think it puts so much pressure on the relationship. I think it, like calling it Conscious Couples kind of put us on a pedestal a bit. And, I think the word conscious is a little bit tainted these days. But back then it was a bit more original, let's say 2019, a bit more original. So we started a podcast called The Relationships Show. And that was going pretty well, having like great conversations. And it was kind of just like a bit of a side project really for me at the time, whilst I could think about my coaching and what I wanted to do. However, after this NLP training, it really kind of kicked things into gear for our Conscious Couples. And we kind of started offering coaching, couples coaching, specifically couples coaching, which was really hard. And the way that we were positioning ourselves at that time were for couples at breaking point. Now, that had been our lived experience prior to that business with other relationships. So we thought, great, we'll sometimes people mess this up too. And, they base things too closely on their experience or what they think people need. So we were like, we need to help couples at breaking point. That's what they need. That's a really hard sell because couples at breaking point are like at breaking point, right? They don't necessarily want to invest like $2,000 or $3,000 into couples coaching because they're at breaking point. And they're kind of like trying to decide what they want to stay together or not. So number one, it's a hard sell. Number two, you're putting your hand up to work with couples at breaking point, which is hard. And to top it all off, by the time we kind of really stepped into this business and started putting out there as like a viable business, it was COVID. Yeah. Talk about timing. Let's start this coaching business at the start of COVID. But it was actually, to be honest, it actually was the best time to start a business. I had time to create a website. I had time to do social media. I had time. I had so much time. And I was getting the government payments for like self-employed people at the time. So I had time, I had money, I was sweet. It was actually perfect. It was actually a perfect time to kind of work on things. So we had this business, Conscious Couples, coaching couples. My God. And again, Sindra, back in 2020, I should say, I kind of knew what I was doing, Obviously, as I've spoken to you all about on these last couple of episodes, I had successful businesses in the past. However, if you look at how things are or how things were social media wise in 2020, and then you kind of rewind back to like 2017 or even prior, things were so different. And I wasn't as well versed into this kind of new way of doing business. I had a business coach for a little bit of that time, and then the rest of the time I didn't. And like, I probably will do an episode about my key takeaways from all this time in business. One of my key takeaways is get a fucking business coach. Like, don't don't wait. Don't wait until it's like the right time, or wait until you have more money, or wait until you make money. Like, get a freaking business coach. Because if I look at what I've been able to do now with a business coach, and I think about how easily we were kind of getting clients back then, even without a business coach, like, yeah, we could have made like so much more money, helped so much more people, and I wouldn't have felt so frustrated as well, like with the business and with where it was going and with the content, if I had known what I know now and if I had invested in a business coach. Anyway, that's a whole other story for another time. So I stumbled along doing posts that, when I look back, was so shit, but doing what you think you have to do. I didn't make many reels. When we did do reels, we like acted out these whole scenarios. They were quite complex. They took a long time to put together. However, again, we were getting clients. Like, it's so funny to look back and think, oh my God, we were like getting clients. Like, we had amazing results. We helped so many, like dozens and dozens of like amazing couples. And most of them stayed together, of course. Some of them separated, which is, I mean, great as well. And it was kind of just starting to flow. Come 2021, let me try and get these dates correct. Yeah, come 2021, again, it's still COVID. However, we had changed the business by then, because the main kind of thing that we wanted to do was intimacy coaching. And that was the main struggle people had as well. So we started going into more intimacy coaching. We started to make it more fun, more sexy, more vibey. We got like more photos done, like, as you do, spending more money on the business, but also changing as a Zone of Genius, getting on podcasts. Like, we were really kind of getting ourselves out there as intimacy coaches. A time when censorship started kicking in, which made things really freaking hard. We're constantly flagged, had posts taken down. Like, it was quite a struggle. Going into 2022, when things started to, like, quote unquote, open up again. I hate that word, but we were speaking on stages at various events around Australia, getting flown to talk about intimacy. It was actually like pretty vibey and pretty fun at the time. As that relationship broke down, obviously it became harder and harder to be in business together. And I was really scared, because for a long time I had this deep yearning for my own thing, and this deep desire to create that on my own, like really claim my independence and step into that and have it be on me, but the success and the failure on me. And I knew that that would be so healing for me, and that I needed to really do it now. And I had kind of known that coming from 2 feet. However, stepping into conscious couples felt exciting and expansive, and it absolutely was for a long time. And then towards the end, it was hard. And I loved working with, I loved the work. I loved the clients. I loved what we were doing. I just needed to go out on my own and do it. And I'm not sure if you're listening, if you have done a business together and you like resonate with that feeling of like, I just want to do it on my own, and have my own thing. So it was really hard leaving that business because that had been 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. It pretty much kind of wrapped up end of 2022 going into 2023. And it was really hard because, we were kind of on this trajectory. Our podcast had over 100 episodes. We had so many listens. We touched so many lives. We had a really engaged community on Instagram. We were speaking at these kind of cool spaces, for example, like at a sex club, we're like their resident sex educators. So we're like doing all this really cool stuff, but it just wasn't feeling like mine. And I was getting frustrated. I didn't want to put my name on things that weren't mine anymore, that weren't coming from my heart. So it was really hard to step away from that. There was so much fear. I mean, I had no choice basically because I didn't want to work with an ex and I just didn't think that would be beneficial for us. But you can imagine like how this felt. And I don't know if I've spoken about this before. I had a business that was based on my relationship essentially. Like it was based on conscious couples. Let me just edit that out because I don't want that in there. Let's just edit that out because I don't want that in there. Conscious couples, like here's the couple that's going to help us become conscious. All of our marketing material was us and like showing our relationship essentially. We did posts about our relationship, we did podcasts about the relationship, and I don't recommend this to anyone. And when I do see couples pedestaling their relationship as part of their content, I'm like, please don't do that. Anyway, I have made a post about that before. It might work for some, maybe, but I just don't think it does. So I felt like a fucking massive failure. Like you can imagine. Here's my conscious, perfect relationship that I've based a lot of my content on. And now it's not a thing anymore. And even the announcing of that, like we held off for such a long time. Not like we weren't deceiving people. We weren't talking about our relationship anymore at that point in time. However, like we did put off telling people, we put off telling our clients. We kept it, not tried. We did keep it very freaking professional. I tell you that. For two people who were probably hurting, definitely hurting, we kept it so professional. Like we really did. Because at the end of the day, we wanted to, our business was our livelihood, and it was something we were so passionate and so devoted to was the work and our clients. So we kept it super professional, but it was so hard. It was so hard not to feel like a failure. And when we did tell people and we did put it out there, we got so much love, so much compassion, so much respect, so much understanding. And then I was like, of course. At the end of the day, a relationship success is not based on how long you're together or if you stay together. It's based on like, what did you learn or what are you learning from that relationship? And we both learned so much and about business and all kinds of things. So whilst it was really hard, it was also so lovely to see our community come together and just support us and show us so much love and respect. And we did a few events and things after we had separated, and we're living in different houses and things. And yeah, I mean, what we were teaching and talking about and sharing was still super valid regardless of our relationship status. I wish I'd known that at the time. But, hindsight. So that's it. That's a wrap. That's a wrap on my business journey up until now. So we've had holistic health, honey. We had conscious couples. We had 2 Feet yoga and 2 Feet creative. We had Pixie music. And it all started from when I was 5 doing that entrepreneurial drawing. And now I'm here, intuitive business coach, mindset coach, doing the thing, sharing my story. I'm sure you have a lot of questions about this, so please send them through on Instagram at Sindra Banks. Happy to answer business questions on there. I'd love to actually share a podcast with like my lessons, like 17 lessons from 17 years as an entrepreneur. So I'll put that on the list to create for you all. I'd love to know as well what part of my story resonated with you the most. So come and share. I love to hear from you. I don't just want to be speaking to myself every week. So come and play, come and share. I hope you enjoyed my sexy, gravelly voice. And until next time, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching, everyone.